Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Celtic Ways morning briefing for Wednesday, the 18th of October. My name is Ryan McGinlay at the Ryan McGinlay on the X handle, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 on the X handle or the Twitter handle, whichever one you prefer. Tony, how are you doing this morning?
I'm very well, fella. Yourself? All good?
Yeah, things are all good. I feel like now it's the end of the international break. We can kind of get
Yes.
fully focused back on not the real stuff, but the stuff that dominates week to week, the domestic football front.
The,
Celtic and
the
league
bread
league
and butter,
cup in
as
Europe.
they say, Ryan. Yeah, the bread and butter. Yeah, it seems
Absolutely.
ages, doesn't it, this international break? It's no longer than the other ones, but I was making the point the other day. It just seemed very long, this one.
It was
Sunday
very,
can't
very
come
long.
quick enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get started, guys, if I could just direct everybody to the description of the video. This morning briefing is brought to you by MPH Group, Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trade specialist covering all of mainland Scotland. Every service you opt for automatically enters you into MPH's incredible holiday giveaway. You could win a 7-night stay at the luxurious 5-star Moon Palace Resort in Cancun, Mexico. All the links are in the description, and at the top of the screen you can see the mph.group. They specialise in plumbing, heating, kitchens and bathrooms. So for any of those jobs that are needing done by yourself or by somebody else, please check out the website. Please check out all the links in the description. And furthermore, if you do enjoy what we do and would like to support us a bit further, then please follow. I'll just read out the banner rather. Please subscribe to the Celtic Way for £4 for 4 months or £18 for a year. By doing that, you'll be supporting top quality football journalism covering the club you love at www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. See, I tried to do that freehand there and that failed miserably. Better off just sticking to what you know. If you do that, then you'll be supporting everything we do. You'll be supporting us on the YouTube channel as well, because without the subscriptions to the website, we wouldn't be able to do the free YouTube videos, whether that be pre-recorded videos or these live streams that we do, both in the morning and when breaking news arises. So if you do want to support us a wee bit further, please visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe and take out a subscription if you haven't done so already. And we do thank everybody that has done so, as well as please subscribing to the YouTube channel as well. It's completely free and it supports us as well. So if you are interested, please subscribe, and thank you once again to our sponsors, MPH Group, for sponsoring the channel. We really do appreciate it. So I was thinking this morning, when thinking about doing a headline for this, what to talk about, because there does seem to be a real lack of Celtic news when it comes to new and fresh information coming out of the club. I think that's just what happens in the international break. We've had a couple of comments from the likes of Cameron Carter-Vickers, Kyogo, etc. But I just wanted to talk about the game that's coming on Sunday, which is against Hearts at Tynecastle. It's a weird kick-off, 2:00. Tony, is that a game that you're looking forward to? Celtic could have had any game to come back to, maybe a perhaps easier game at home, but instead they're getting thrust right back into the swing of things with a hard away match at Tynecastle against Hearts. What's your views on that game that seems to be creeping up ever so faster and closer?
Bring it on. Love it. Love Tynecastle. Celtic usually go to Tynecastle and turn it on, don't they? It's just one of those great grounds. The conditions are always right for good football. It's a bit of a bear pit, which I like about it. And yeah, I just wanted to play it right away after the Kilmarnock game, because I thought Celtic put in their best performance after the Kilmarnock game, and I wanted to play Hearts immediately after, or certainly the following week. But obviously the international break came along. But I just think if Celtic can reproduce the form that they showed against Kilmarnock, then yeah, they've got every chance of registering a win at Tynecastle. Traditionally, they've done pretty well at Tynecastle, involved in a couple of crackers last year, weren't they? 4-3, in particular, the day VAR was introduced. I think it's almost about a year since VAR was introduced, isn't it? Around about
It's
this
been a
time.
long year, if that's the
Yeah,
case.
correct. Yeah, still having the same teething problems, as they say, the same arguments, the same old issues. But yeah, I love Tynecastle. It's just it's a wonderful stadium for football, and I think and with the Hearts reducing the allocation for Celtic supporters year on year as well, it's just that backing that the Celtic supporters give to the team's vital. You can see those dwindling numbers, but it doesn't take away from the atmosphere, because it's always been brilliant. And I think the Celtic supporters love going to Tynecastle, and obviously they clinched the title there last year as well, didn't they? So it's it's recent fond and happy memories for Celtic. They won there in the cup as well, playing some lovely stuff. Remember Carter Vickers' headed goal, and goal by Aaron Moy as well, was it? Was it Aaron Moy? I'm sure it was Aaron Moy that scored.
I think O scored as well. Was that in the day that they won the league?
Well,
The
the
3-0 game. The
the
3-0 game.
Scottish Cup
Yeah,
game, yeah, that they,
Aaron Moy, Cameron
yeah.
Carter-Vickers. Somebody, it's looking back on all those games,
It's just
since
because
then Aaron Moy's retired. So
Aaron Moy's goal was particularly good that day, so I remember that. I remember Rio Hitachi's howitzer. I mean, that was a screamer. I was there that day, and and it went in like a bullet, and even in slow motion, it went in like a bullet. He caught a hold of it, and it was a cracker. And so as I say, recent happy memories of Tynecastle. Hopefully, they can keep that up. And you were buoyed by that Kilmarnock performance. You just wanted the next game to come along really quickly, didn't you?
yeah, absolutely. I feel like Celtic were in a really, really good place after that game against Kilmarnock. They looked as if they were right back on form. Rio Tati was playing some of his best stuff all season. Matt O'Reilly was contributing too. Every player looked as if they were up for the next game, and then all of a sudden you've got this sort of this 2 weeks, and some players have taken that form into the international excursions as well, which is good, which means they can bring that back. I know they'll all be travelling back tomorrow, round about that time, and getting used to it before a big game at Tynecastle on Sunday. So yeah, we made the headline "Who will shine for Celtic following the international break?" Because there were a lot of standout players at that first portion of the season, but that new stars can arise following an international break. Things can click into place, and that they can go into form, maybe that they weren't doing beforehand. Who would you say, just out of all the players that we have been discussing at the start of the season, who do you think is going to be the player that's going to step out? Maybe not one of the ones that we would expect, such as Matt O'Reilly or Kyogo, etc. Who do you think is going to be the player that comes out and really makes an impact following this international break?
Well, I was pleased to see that Paulo Bernardo scored, didn't he, for under-21s?
Mm-hmm.
And he also, seemingly, in the double-header for the 21s, he performed really well. So I'm hoping the manager's watching. I'm sure he will. I mean, I'm not hoping he will be watching Paulo Bernardo's progress. And I think he's a player that could maybe bring that form back to his club and maybe get some more game time. I would like to see that. But the three, that triumvirate that were started against Kilmarnock were exceptional, weren't they? And you don't see the manager changing that, do you? The McGregor, O'Reilly, Rio Hitachi also played another international game for Japan. Kyogo scored, so it goes without saying that it's good to see Kyogo scoring. And and Liam Scales coming back after playing back-to-back internationals for Ireland, just riding the crest of a wave. So there's all sorts of stuff there, Ryan, all sorts of variables that come into play. And I just think that it keeps those guys who hit form ticking over. Bernardo's the one I really want to see. We've seen small glimpses, quite like him. Don't know what he would be like when he starts a game or if he completes, a full 90 minutes. But it's hard to oust those three in the midfield at this minute in time. I don't think the manager would dream of throwing Bernardo into a cauldron like Tynecastle on Sunday. I think he'll go with the tried and tested. But hopefully, if Celtic play like they did in that cup game, when the job was done pretty quickly, then they could maybe introduce Bernardo. Because even and there was one of the games where Kobayashi came on at halftime against Hearts, didn't he? And he actually looked okay. So I'm not averse to giving guys game time, even in supposedly more difficult games. It's how they'll learn. It's chalking up that experience. But you just look at all the international players who went away and represented their countries, and they've all come back, or they've all done particularly well, haven't they? And they'll all be pretty happy. Callum McGregor, Greg Taylor, they've qualified for the Euros, so they'll be on cloud nine. Matt O'Reilly got his Denmark call-up, so he'll be chuffed at that, hoping to force his way into that setup. But Bernardo was the one when I read that he did particularly well. was quite chuffed at that, because players can go away and not play and take the huff or not show up. But he's clearly determined that he wants to show Brendan Rodgers what he can do, and if he can perform at a decent level, like for Portugal under 21s, then he can transfer that to Celtic, certainly. But I look around and, glad that Hatate got more game time for Japan. Just think he needs more games now, doesn't he? Just to ramp up his fitness levels, and also he was exceptional against Kilmarnock, so you want to see him spring out the traps again on Sunday, don't you? And all the players that I just thought, like you said, felt we were in a good place. And there's been no injuries reported as of yet, is there? So I think if the guys come back, they will have enjoyed their spell away, and they can just take it from there. That's another platform upon which to build. But difficult run of games coming up, Ryan, for Celtic, but one that you've got to fully take head on and embrace. And I'm quite chuffed with the way things are going with Celtic right now.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be a really interesting week of football, you would say, because you've got the Hearts game away from home, and then the Atletico Madrid game at home in midweek, and then Hibs away. That's quite a tough lineup. It doesn't matter on what sort of form these teams are in. Atletico Madrid takes care of itself. It's a really, really difficult game against top opposition. But you know that what the kind of form goes up and down with the Heart, with the two Edinburgh sides, with a form that goes up and down. But they always up their game when they're playing against Celtic, especially when they're at home in Edinburgh, whether that's at Easter Road or Tynecastle, respectively. It's definitely a tricky week to manoeuvre, I would say, in terms of games. Annoyingly that the hardest game is arguably at home. Well, not arguable about it. The toughest game is at home against Atletico Madrid. You would have been hoping that maybe one of those games against one of the Edinburgh sides was at home, but so be it. We will play them at home eventually later on in the season. That's just how these things work out. But you were talking about Bernardo there. I think it's a very, very, I think you could call it the curious case of Paulo Bernardo. He's a guy that's been brought into proceedings. He was brought in on deadline day. This exciting young player from Portugal, but so far he's not really managed to get a lot of game time. Yes, when he's came on, he has impressed, and he's looked like he's got all the attributes to be a good player in time. But it's going to be very, very difficult for him to force a place, especially with Matt O'Reilly producing the best form of probably his career, alongside Rio Hatate, who's just signed a new deal and looks settled again. He looks like he's ready to really make that number 8 position his own, either number 8 or number 10. I know the two interchange in games, but it's looking like a very what would be the word? A very settled midfield three, and it's going to be difficult for players like Paulo Bernardo, Odin Thiago Holm, even David Turnbull, other players, Kwon as well, who's not even made his competitive debut yet. It seems like he's so far out of the picture already. It's a bit concerning, but these players, it's going to be so difficult for them with that settled front three, middle three. They're going to be looking for either an injury or a drop in form, aren't they?
Well, I think they persevere. Look at Liam Scales. And I think the manager will have been telling them, listen, guys, might be difficult at the minute, but trust me, it's a long, long season. You will get game time. You will get your opportunity to impress. And I think when it comes along, they need to grab it. Odin Thiago Holm got an out in the Champions League, and look what happened. And
I think he grabbed it too much.
Yeah, he went in with both feet. He grabs it with both feet. So, these things happen. But you look at Scales, you look at Ralston last year. Guys will get their opportunity, and as much as I don't like to dwell on the former manager, he did say a lot of prescient things, and he spoke about the fact that when you get that game time, it's still 15, 20 minutes playing for Celtic. It's not wasted. Yep. Go and make an impact. And then that 20 minutes turns into half an hour, might turn into a half, might turn into an hour, might turn into 90. So every time you take to the field, you've got somebody, you impress the manager, but you show yourself what you're capable of. You show the supporters. So I don't see it as a slight on these guys. I think they're talented footballers. There's just more talented footballers ahead of them in that pecking order. But nothing lasts forever, Ryan. There are injuries, there's bookings, there's suspensions. Call it what you like. these guys will get their opportunity. I think that's one thing that Brendan Rodgers is good at. He's good at getting the guys together and saying, you will play, just maybe not at this precise minute, but when I call upon you to do a service for me, you'll be ready. Make sure you're ready. And I think Bernardo and Odin Thiago Home are the ones that are being spoken to like that right now. Just be saying, look, bide your time, it'll come. Long season. And going back to what you were saying there about Hearts, Atletico Madrid and Hibs, I love these kind of weeks. These are the business. You know, the only thing that could be better than that is a Rangers game sandwich in between there. That, you know, it's just, this is why you play football. This is why you're a supporter. For weeks like this, Hearts away, Atletico Madrid at home in the Champions League, Hibs away. Bring it on. Let's really go and have a rip at those three and see if you come out having won all three. How good will you feel? I don't really let negativity enter my head, Ryan. So I'm envisaging Celtic winning all three. But again, first one, Hearts at Tynecastle, you concentrate on that. But it's hard not to think about this next wee spell of games. But imagine coming out and those three having won every contest. You'll feel really good. You'll feel in a much better place than now. And you and I are both saying that Celtic are in a good place. So, you know, I'm really, as I say, it's ticking along nicely. I'm enjoying it. I enjoyed the Kilmarnock game. I just missed the fix of club football, but I've been intrigued by all the international guys that have gone away. Even yesterday, we spoke about Mikey Johnston as well. You know, so you know he could come back and do something because there's positions there up for grabs, isn't there? You know, like in the look of Palmer, we're still waiting to see what Marco Tilio will produce once he's fit.
Get on to,
Yeah, you know, once he's fit and up and rearing to go. So, it's, you know, I think things are coming to the boil and bubbling away nicely, Ryan. So, long may that continue.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring up a comment. Thank you for the comment, Dennis Jamieson. Will Tilly be in the squad against Hearts? Honestly, who knows at this stage? I think we'll get a better idea tomorrow when Brendan Rodgers speaks to the media.
Yeah.
I'm presuming it's going to be tomorrow. It's either tomorrow or Friday. There might be that 2-day sort of gap between him speaking to the media and then the game occurring. It might be a wee bit shorter when it comes to European games, but that's usually the case with domestic games. With Marco Tilio, we've not seen anything of him whatsoever, unless you had your eagle eyes on a testimonial, on an Ayr United testimonial where he played. I didn't manage to catch that game, so I haven't seen anything of him. I've only seen his highlights for Melbourne City when he played in Australia. It looks a very, very exciting player, but you know, at the same time, I'm kind of sick of calling him this exciting player. I just want to see some proof. You know, I want to see some ocular proof at Celtic. You know, it's all good having talent, but we need to see it on the park as well. We said that about Daniel Arzani, I remember, a few years back as well. We said he had all the talent in the world. He came on, first game, he done his ACL. You know, it was a terrible, terrible thing to happen, especially for a promising youngster like himself. I think he's just now getting back to where he was before he got that injury. So all the best to him. You're hoping that it won't be the same. It might be a bit of a lazy comparison putting the two of them together because they're both young Australian wingers, but you know, it is one of the examples that we've got, so we'll use it. It definitely is. It definitely is a player that looks to be quite exciting, an exciting player when he's on the ball, goals, assists. You're just hoping that if he is fit, he can come on and make an impact. I don't think he'll be starting any games anytime soon, but if he can come on and make an impact off the bench, then you know that's an extra weapon for Brendan Rodgers to have in his arsenal.
But you look at it and you project forward and you're thinking Lewis Palmer doing it on the left-hand side, Tilio Maida on the right, Kyogo up front. You know, so that excites you, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody wants to see what Tilio brings to the party. But until we do, then we will still refer to him as this exciting potential talent. And
I thought you were going to use the P word there, the project word.
No. And I think, as you say, I think maybe it would be pertinent if somebody asked Brendan Rodgers that he's when he speaks to the media either tomorrow or Friday about Tilio, just sort of an update on him. So we'll see what happens with that. But you know, the last we heard, was he out on the grass? He said. I believe.
I think he's been out in the grass for about a month or so now. I remember he was
Yeah,
talking about him the same. Remember when Alistair Johnson was coming back from injury and he was saying that Marco
yeah,
Tilio was starting to get training as well. So, I guess it's a slow and gradual process, but he is getting closer.
yeah. So I mean, I think everybody just wants to see him now, don't they? That's the bottom line, and the manager can enlighten us on that one as to how far away he is and will be from playing for Celtic. But I've liked what Palmer's produced as well recently, and I think he can grow into a Celtic winger moving forward and somebody who can play a lot of games and if he can find some consistency. But his performances so far have given you lots to enthuse about and be encouraged about. And even he should have 3 goals for Celtic. But so obviously a VAR decision robbed them of what would have been a memorable winner against Lazio. But even the fact that that was chalked off, I still like the way he took it. His technique in
With his
scoring that.
25 celebrations as well.
Yeah, his
There
celebration.
was plenty of
Yeah,
photo opportunities. I was scolded on Twitter for using that picture of him with the top off when he was showing his jersey to the crowd, which turned out to be a disallowed goal. But you know what? He did it, so it's a very real thing. You're just hoping that he can add more to his thing. But sorry, what were we saying?
So I just there are players there that are exciting me at the minute that are in the team. Tillio will be fit when he's fit, and we'll see what he's got. Again, from all the reports, it's something that could be, another UCA attacking string to Celtic's bow and something that they can add to their arsenal moving forward. So I just hope that there is some update on Tillio because I think everybody is waiting with bated breath for that one, aren't they?
Yeah, we just wanted to see him, and
Yeah,
it's like a new signing. And yes, we did see a bit of Kwon as well in the pre-season friendlies too. But we've not seen any of him as well, and you're waiting on when is his next opportunity going to be? Is he going to get another opportunity? There was a fee paid for him, so you would expect him to be
yeah.
developing on the training ground and maybe adding a wee bit of physicality to his game. But yeah, Tillio's definitely an exciting player that we're looking forward to seeing when it does happen. The good thing is it hasn't affected Celtic too much, him not being available, because by and large Celtic have got the results that they've needed in the games that they've played, apart from a couple. So it hasn't affected them too much. But the more weapons that Celtic have got, the better. Just looking at other players that could shine for Celtic following the international break, maybe returning players from injury as well. I look at the fact that we've not had an update yet on Mike Nawrowski's prognosis or his expected return, but I think before he was injured, he was one of the standouts in the opening couple of games. He looked like a player that was really going to take that position and make it his own. Just so happens that he got injured in that. I think it was the Kilmarnock game he got injured in the last 10 seconds. He pulled his
Yes.
hamstring, which seemed to be quite a serious tear because I think he was out longer than, or he was going to be out longer than Brendan Rodgers anticipated. But he was the player that Celtic paid the most money for in the transfer window. That was the highest transfer fee was for Nawrowski. It was a player that Brendan Rodgers knew from his time at Leicester, playing against Legia Warsaw in I think it was either the Europa League or the Conference League. I think it was the Conference League, the Europa Conference League. He played against Mike Nawrowski as a 20-year-old, so he knows all about him. His long range passing looked great. It looked as if he could do a good bit of defending on and off the ball as well. How excited are you to see Mike Nawrowski back in that back line? And do you think it'll be him and Carter Vickers when everybody's fit and firing? Or does this curious case of Liam Scales go on even further? Because at the moment you can't drop Liam Scales for how well he's playing, but it will be a different story, I believe, when Mike Nawrowski comes back into the fold.
Well, that's what the manager gets paid the big bucks for, isn't it? To make decisions like that, and he won't shy away from it. Liam Scales has been absolutely terrific. As I say, he's played back-to-back games for Ireland as well, so he's earned that call-up. I did write about it the other day and call it a Cinderella story, but, when Mike Nawrowski comes back, then that is the decision, but Liam Scales is giving what every manager wants, selection dilemmas and headaches, and it's up to Brendan Rodgers to see who slots in when everybody is fit. The smart money, everybody's saying, you can't drop Liam Scales. Brendan Rodgers will decide whether he drops Liam Scales or not. So that'll be the manager's call. Excuse me. You won't dispute what the manager does if he does do that, but you have to say that Liam Scales has done nothing to merit being dropped from the squad up until now. And if he can keep his form going, then the guys like Mike Nawrocki, who Celtic have paid money for, they might have to bide their time, because it will be Cameron Carter-Vickers and Liam Scales moving forward for the time being, until Brendan Rodgers' hand is forced, or he just feels that he wants to bring Nawrocki back into the fold. And yeah, Celtic forked out money for Nawrocki. Unfortunately, he got injured. But that's the nature of football, isn't it? That one player's misfortune is another player's opportunity. And you can't say that Liam Scales hasn't grasped it. And what people are now talking about is the fact that he's a natural left-sided centre-back, which is very, very rare. And Cameron Carter-Vickers and Liam Scales complement each other, because one's naturally right-sided centre-back and one's a natural left-sided centre-back. So, that will come into your thoughts a lot when you're sending out a defence. Because I know Starfelt played the left-sided centre-back at times, didn't he? And at times looked a bit cumbersome, a bit gangly, did the job, but there were times he kind of looked uncomfortable, didn't he? Shuffling around and shuffling the ball onto his right foot, and you saw that for yourself in various games. Didn't detract from the fact that he was a decent big defender, and he had a great track record domestically when he was played alongside Cameron Carter-Vickers. So there's all sorts of things will come into the manager's thinking. But Mike Nawrocki, first and foremost, will have to prove his fitness, because I wouldn't want to bring him back too early, because you have a man there in Liam Scales who's done nothing wrong, who's merited the starts, and he's merited, as I say, keeping a hold of the yellow jersey in a Tour de France style, and he's out there at the front and leading by example. So until the manager decides that he wants to either rest Liam Scales, rotate him, or for whatever reason drop him, and that doesn't seem like any time soon, then he'll continue to play him alongside Carter-Vickers, I think.
Yeah, just talking about Carter-Vickers, and that's a really good segue into some of his comments that he made. I noticed a couple of people have been mentioning that in the comments section. I think he was doing an interview with American TV. He's currently involved with the USA national team. He's getting appearances as well, which is absolutely brilliant for him. It seems to be a bit of an aging centre-back dilemma in the US national team, which means that Carter-Vickers should have a clear run at it for the next 5-6 years, which is good for him, good for his exposure, and good for his ongoing development as a top-class centre-back. For an emerging nation, you would say, in the USA as well, that are really starting to buy into football and everything that it brings, not just American football, but soccer, as they call it as well. Didn't want to use the soccer word, but that is what they'll call it. I know you don't like that. I can see it in your face. Yeah, it's like the Incredible Hulk coming. But just to bring up some of Cameron Carter-Vickers' comments, he was speaking to the Sporting News, which I believe is an American sort of company or an American publication. He was stating if he was happy at Celtic responding to suggestions of a second chance. He said this was regarding to a second chance in the Premier League. He said, if it comes, great, but if it doesn't, I'm happy where I'm at now. It's a club where there's always pressure on you, which I think someone like me almost needs. Which I think someone like me almost needs that to keep me focused and keep me playing at my highest level week in, week out. As a player, sometimes when you're playing week in, week out, you kind of get in a rhythm of turning up. I don't think the fans at Celtic allow that. A draw in the league is a disaster for the fans. Once you realise that, you don't know every game. You know every game you have is going 100% to win the game, and if you don't, be ready for basically criticism. I think that's a very, very astute observation from Cameron Carter-Vickers. He knows that drawing for Celtic is basically a defeat, and he's enjoying his time. He didn't completely close the door on a move back to the Premier League, but to be honest, you would expect that. He's a player that has plied his trade for Tottenham. I know he was out on loan for a lot of it as well, but he probably would be looking for a second chance opportunity in the best league in the world. But as it stands, he's very happy where he is. He's happy with his development, and he's happy under Brendan Rodgers. So Celtic supporters shouldn't be too worried, should they?
I think it was the kind of ... in that, reading between the lines. This is a man who's happy with his lot, and there's not many clubs you'll go to or sign for, even in the Premier League, where you'll be under the scrutiny and pressure that they are at Celtic. So he said it himself. He needs to be at a club like that. And if a Premier League club comes and asks him to go, and it's not like that, do you see him going? He's playing in Europe, at the Champions League, the highest possible level that you can play for any club. He's back in the international fold, and he's starting to get game time for the USA, who, as you say, are now emerging again as a force in international football. So I think he's just sort of saying, well, unless it's something that really, really flicks my switch and floats my boat, I'm perfectly happy where I am because I am doing all these things. And so I'll use an example. Say a Bournemouth came calling. He's not going there.
No.
Right? He's not going there. So I think for Cameron Carter-Vickers to have that intensive pressure, it would have to be a top 6 team in the English Premier League. And then that starts another argument. Is he good enough for a top 6 team in the English Premier League? Then it's up to them to come calling, isn't it? So I think he's kind of made up his mind that he likes it at Celtic. He likes the manager. He likes the players. He likes the fans. He likes what he's doing. And I've mentioned this before. There are not many clubs that can offer you what Celtic can offer you. People really have a downer on the standard of the league, but the standard of the Scottish League is improving. It's improving year upon year. And they only have a downer on it when they're comparing it to other leagues in Europe. And it's an unfair comparison. But there is that intense pressure. He said it himself, a draw's a disaster. You imagine going to work every day and then turning up for the game at the weekend knowing we have to win here, or there's flack coming our way. Some players thrive in that, other players shrink from it. I can't quite, raise the bar. He's a guy that's thrived on it. He loves it, and he's showing he's I think he's as solid a defender as Celtic have seen in recent times. And I put him up there with the likes of, I love Paul Elliott, I love Mark Reaper, I love Mialbi, I love Baldy. And I think he's entering into that chat with guys that you just felt safe at the back of the pack with, big Stubbs as well in terms of distribution and all that kind of thing. So, he really is, he's a hybrid of all of them. And I've never felt safe at the back of the pack since Cameron Carter-Vickers came in for the past few seasons, and you missed him when he was away. Missed him dearly. Conceded a lot of goals and lost a few games towards the tail end of last season. And, since he's came back, it's just that extra layer of protection, isn't it? He's just solid. He does exactly what it says in the tin. He wins the ball in the air. He's good in the deck, and he's just a good defender. And as I say, I think he's a guy who's came up here not knowing what to expect, but he's very appreciative of his lot, and he loves it, and he's thriving on it. And I think it would take something pretty exceptional to move him. And he's another one who I would be saying to him, do you fancy signing a new deal? And see if they can get that one over the line as well. He's next on my to-do list. Get Cameron Carter-Vickers nailed down on a new deal. But I'm quite happy that he said that, because he didn't sort of advertise himself, did he? And say, Premier League clubs come and get me. He just sort of said, if it happens, fine. But I'm happy here. And he accentuated the positives about Celtic, didn't he? And what he's experiencing in his own career. And I think if you're a Celtic supporter, that's kind of music to your ears, and you say, good on you, big man. Thanks for that. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think for the first time in his career, he's at a club where he knows he's settled and he knows he's going to be playing every single week, and he doesn't need to worry about medium to long term future. You know, if a move does transpire, then that is good for him. You know, he can move on. He can maybe get an increase in wages if a top 6 club goes in. Then he could potentially go to a bigger team. You know, it's difficult to get a bigger team than Celtic in your career, but there are some big teams down south that could certainly hold a candle to that. But for the first time in his career, he's in a place where he knows his destination and he knows where he's going to be. And I think that's so important. You look at Cameron Carter-Vickers' team list, the amount of teams that he's played for in his career. It's incredible, the amount of loan deals. Played basically for the whole of the English Championship. It seemed like, I think it was Bournemouth. He played at Swansea as well. I know we were talking about he wouldn't go back to Bournemouth. I don't think he would go back to Bournemouth either. I think he's a higher player than that. I know certain players went. Like Ryan Christie went to, I think that was a different example, to be honest. Ryan Christie going to Bournemouth, I think he just wanted a taste of the Premier League football. I know they were in the Championship, but then they went up into the Premier League. And then Christopher Ayer, he went to Brentford. I know somebody was talking about that in the comments. I think Brentford are a bit of a different one, to be honest. I don't think you can compare Brentford and Bournemouth, to be honest, because Brentford have a very specific way of operating, their Moneyball approach, their analytics, the amount of Scandinavian players that they've got in and around the team, also that relationship that they've got with Midtjylland as well, have sharing the owner between the two of them. It's definitely a forward-thinking and modern club, and also they can pay good money as well. Aaron Hickey's there as well. He'll probably leave in the next couple of months, to be honest, because his form's been incredible. But yeah, these players moving down south, Cameron Carter-Vickers has tasted that before. He's had fleeting appearances in the Premier League, but I think he's quite happy where he is just now, unless an extraordinary offer, much like with Ange Postecoglou, I would say as well, to be honest. He was waiting on an extraordinary offer coming in. Maybe not an extraordinary team, but everything that went with Tottenham Hotspur was extraordinary for certain things that he could do with his team. And, it's up to Cameron Carter-Vickers to keep on putting the performances to allow those sort of offers to come in. But I don't think he'll be moving for the sake of it.
I'm not naive enough to think that he won't go if the money, trumps everything that everything at Celtic. If you're going to make money your god, then of course you're moving. I know contracts are made to be broken, and but I just think you can't underestimate personal happiness. And a lot of players get personal happiness at Celtic. They don't play for Celtic for nothing. Yeah, English clubs can come in and maybe blow Celtic out of the water in terms of wages, but personal happiness means a lot to a lot of players. They earn a decent crust at Celtic. It's not as if, as I say, they're playing for nothing. Somebody comes in, wants you double it and treble it, then they've got a question to answer. Totally get that. But I just think there's certain players that you get that vibe where they're genuinely contented with a lot. He's found a home. He's been very nomadic, Cameron Carter-Vickers. And he's found a kind of spiritual football home. And I think that means a lot to a player like that. Could be wrong. But you'll see the test of that if Celtic actually do offer him a new deal and he signs it or not. But if he looks at the other players around him, they're personally happy as well. They've all signed. And I think there's a moment in time, in this minute in Celtic, under Brendan Rodgers, I think a lot of players are wanting to stay. Certainly for the 3 years that Brendan said he's going to be here, I think a lot of players might want to commit to at least 2 of those years with Brendan and see where he can take the team. Yeah, and I just think, playing for Celtic in the Champions League, winning trophies, winning every week, that demand that's placed on you gives you a lot of personal happiness and satisfaction that you don't get anywhere. Players aren't just mercenaries, right? They're not just, some are, some aren't, but some come up here and they genuinely love what they're doing because they're playing for a wonderful football club. Yeah, Larson played for 7 years.
Larson's the biggest example, I would say.
And he never saber rattled about wages. He was one of the highest paid players there. So I kind of get the point where, if somebody comes in and says to Cameron Carter-Vickers, we'll give you X amount if you want to come and play for us down south, then he'll have a decision to make. I get that, but that doesn't sound like a guy who's agitating or itching for a move or he's even thought about it. He's fully concentrated on the job at hand at Celtic, and he's reiterating that he's perfectly happy. So I'm happy that he's happy, and if he goes like everything else, he'll go with your blessing, because he's been a cracking defender for Celtic, absolutely sensational. So, and I know you can't keep them, but I would certainly start the discussions about a new deal for Cameron Carter-Vickers, because I think he's a player they must keep, if they can, if he's willing.
I think it was reported that both him and Greg Taylor are in discussions for new contracts. That seemed to be the news line that was going about a couple of weeks ago. So you'd imagine that is ongoing with those two players, if that is the case. If you can get those two signed up, it seems when you look at the squad, every single one of Celtic's assets will have been signed up to longer deals, which is a massive success, and the board would deserve a lot of credit for that, because they've managed to tie down, safeguard all their assets, and make them, and make their assets bigger in value as well. Because if they're on bigger contracts, then it means that teams coming in for them will need to pay a premium to get them out of those contracts. I think that's the idea with Matt O'Reilly and Rio Tati especially, and Abada as well. To be fair, when he comes back from injury, it's these guys are now signed up for the long term. They're going to be there, unless otherwise, unless a big bid comes in, they'll be there for the duration of their deals. So it's up to the other teams to basically fork out the cash for them.
Going to flick this up. Danny Boy, Tony, if the Evening Standard in London offered to treble your wages, you'd go. You don't know me, Danny Boy. You don't know me at all. It's never been my God. Money's never been my God. I love what I do. I like what I do. I'm a big family man as well. So if London came calling, I'm not so sure I would jump at that train. But hey, there you go. It's hypothetical, but hey, I don't know if I'd be going to London anytime soon.
London
Danny.
calling, there'd be a clash of interests there, wouldn't there?
It would be. It would be. Yes, as I say, love what I do. Love covering Celtic, and yeah, like Cameron Carter-Vickers, I'm happy, very happy, as you can see. So yeah,
it's
but there you go.
happiness.
Can't put a price on that. To be fair,
you can't at all. Absolutely. And talking about Celtic every day, there isn't many better things to do. It's something we would do anyway, but it's great that that's our occupation as well. I'm just trying to think of other players that will shine for Celtic following an international break. We could go on and talk about Odin Holm. A guy that's impressed in flashes, but he's been in and out of the team. That's just due to injuries and due to players returning from said injuries, players coming back into form. The fact that Matt O'Reilly's playing the best stuff of his career, he's been very vocal on the fact that he's playing so well. As a 20-year-old, there isn't as much pressure on Odenholm to break into the team as of yet, but I think for him, the biggest pressure will be on himself to try and make that breakthrough. He's made senior appearances for Vålerenga, but it's all about making that next step up into Celtic. It seems that Brendan Rodgers is a big fan of him. He spoke highly of him and his ability, but he's just got to bide his time, hasn't he?
I think if you're Odin Thiago Holm and Bernardo, you're rattling Brendan Rodgers' door and you're demanding an answer why you're not playing, and then see if he gives you an answer. See the following week, I'd rattle it again. Say, why am I not playing? That's the attitude I want, and I think that's the attitude Brendan Rodgers would want. And he'll, as I've said before, he'll study them every day at training, and Brendan Rodgers will know the right time to release them onto the park, start them in a game. But if I'm those two guys, I'm ambitious, and I think Brendan Rodgers is maybe, testing their mental fortitude as well, saying, okay, guys, come on, show me what you got. So if I'm those two guys, I'm coming back from internationals, certainly Bernardo's case, and saying, any chance I can see some minutes this weekend, and make the manager say yay or nay, and nay because this, or yay because I liked what you did in midweek and all that kind of stuff. So that's the way I'm, and I think young players these days, I hesitate to use the word, but there's more conceit about them, aren't they? They believe that they are, players, and there's an attitude about them. So I want that attitude for those guys, because I want them to be saying to the manager, see if you don't trust him or you don't think I'm your man, And that's what I want from them, so that by the time the manager turns around and says, "Today you're the man, go and be the man," they're ready and they don't let anybody down. That's what I want from Odin Thiago Home and the likes of Bernardo. Yeah, they might have to bide their time, but as long as you keep rattling that manager's door or showing him in training, say, by the way, I'm still around, so that any dip in form by Hatate, O'Reilly, or you want to rest McGregor because he is getting older and he's played a hell of a lot of games in his career. But these guys just at the minute, that's your three in midfield, isn't it? It's hard to see them being dislodged or displaced. But I want to see Thiago home. I want to see Bernardo displacing them, because see if they do displace them, then somebody's coming in of repute and you're getting a player of equal quality, maybe better, you don't know. But that's what you want. So it's all good, So I think Brendan Rodgers is getting these guys into that place, which is why we talk about an elite level manager. People, scorn us for saying that, Ryan, but we're steadfast in that. It's about what he does out with, managing Celtic and getting results. It's working with these guys, keeping them happy when they're not playing, but telling them you will one day, perform for me. I'm going to have to turn to you. It's a long season with lots of games. We've got a big, massive week coming up. Lots of players will play a part in this week coming up, because it's 3 huge games. You don't know what will happen, but there'll be a lot of players that you'll turn to and say, right, I need you. This is your stage. Go and perform. Go and show me what you got. And I think that's part of being a manager. You keep all these guys happy. And part of it's keeping players happy when they're not playing, because everybody wants to play. Everybody will tell you they're fit and ready to play, and every player will tell you that they're the man for this particular game and this particular job. So, but that's what I want. That's the kind of thing that I want.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a competition is always brilliant in a team. You don't want people too settled in their places, although it looks as if that is the case just now in the midfield. It does look like a very settled midfield three, but you want players to be challenging that both in training and when they come on. Off the bench later on in games. I don't doubt that these players will be given opportunities, because it is a long season. Cal McGregor will need his game time does need to get watched. Father Time stops for nobody. He is a player that is getting a bit older. I mean, he's only 30. Don't get me wrong. He's not as if we're writing him off. He is in the prime of his career. But, you do have to watch players, because you don't want the same thing happening to Cal McGregor that maybe did happen down the line with Scott Brown. It was maybe one season too many for him, and you seen the adverse effects of a player that's just been playing far too much. If you can get some rotation, some meaningful rotation, if there's games that Cal McGregor doesn't need to play, and maybe that is a wider problem, the fact that Cal McGregor is needed every game in order for Celtic to click, then you're hoping that Celtic can just swap him out with somebody else and somebody else can do that job, and then play Cal McGregor for the big games. I know most games for Celtic are big games, but if there are opportunities to let him to give him a rest for 90 minutes, or even give him a rest for 60 minutes, comes on for half an hour, then that should be an avenue that Celtic should look to go down.
I would say good luck on the person breaking that news to Callum McGregor, because he's just, he just wants to play every game, and I love that about Callum McGregor. I love that more than anything. And while he's fit and he's ready to go and ready to play every game, then he plays, doesn't he? I know players, you have to sort of save them from themselves now and again, but Callum McGregor's just been, you said before, the metronome of this team, and the beating heart of the team since Scott Brown left. And I don't think I could tell Callum McGregor that he wasn't playing due to rotation or being rested. I just but again, the manager might do it, so but that's why I want Odin Thiago home and Bernardo to be as sharp as they can be, and the manager will demand that from them. And I think it's no slight on their ability at this minute in time. It's just there's 3 guys there who are starting to hit form, and
he got his break last night, to be fair to him.
Yeah, so it's and he'll probably have been raging that he didn't play in that or didn't start, So, but listen, you can't fault the 3 guys, especially if you're, that old adage that you're only as good as your last game. If you're only as good as your last game, then Celtic put in their best performance of the season, and we were desperate to see them play the next game, which happened to be 2 weeks away, which was a real, a real bind for the Celtic supporters, because I say a lot of them are not international football orientated or inclined, which is fair enough. That's each to their own personal choice. But on Sunday, it's one of your hardest games of the season, and you're going into it on the back of a performance which you hope you can replicate, and if they can replicate it, then I think they've every chance of being successful on Sunday. Strange kick-off time, right enough, 2:15. Don't know where that came from, but we deal with it. It doesn't really matter, does it? You play them at midnight, whatever.
At least it's on the television. At least it's on the television to watch. And we will preview that game as we count down to it in the coming days. That's us been going for 51 minutes now. Thank you once again, everybody that's joined us in the comments section, and even if you're not in the comment section, just watching the video, we really do appreciate your support and your participation in today's show. Before we finish, once again, if I could just shout out the sponsors of this video, which is MPH Group. The morning briefing was brought to you by MPH Group, Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trade specialists covering all of mainland Scotland. Every service you opt for automatically enters you into MPH's incredible holiday giveaway. You could win a 7-night stay at the luxurious 5-star Moon Palace Resort in Cancun, Mexico. All the links are in the description just to this video, just below. If you're looking for plumbing, heating, kitchens or bathrooms, then MPH is the best place to go with regards to that. And if you are interested in supporting us just a wee bit more, then please subscribe to the website. It is currently at £4 for 4 months or £18 for a year. By doing that, you'll be supporting top quality football journalism covering the club you love at www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. On there's instant analysis from games, there's press conference Q&As, which means we write out the whole press conference for you to just read, so it means you don't need to go through the whole video. We've got analytical pieces, scouting pieces, opinion pieces as well. So anything that tickles your fancy should basically be on the website if you're Celtic inclined. If you're looking for Celtic based journalism and the best Celtic based journalism you can get, then look no further than the Celtic Way, and please support please continue to support what Tony and I do on this channel. Also on YouTube, if you please press the subscribe button, it really does help us. It's completely free of charge. It helps us continue to do these free videos, both pre-recorded and live stream videos. So if you are interested, press that subscribe button and you'll be notified of when we go live and when videos go live as well. Tony, thank you very much for joining me this morning. I really do appreciate your contributions.
Pleasure as always. Thank you. Always enjoy it. You know that.
And thank you to everybody in the comments for getting involved. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow to discuss all things Celtic. But until then, have a very good day.